Hello there, everyone. Welcome to Fresh. This week, we are talking about yet another television series on a streaming platform. But first, let me reintroduce myself. My name is Nia Malika Dixon. I'm an independent writer, director, and producer here in Los Angeles, and I am originally from Baltimore. And I'm a Black Muslim woman, and I founded Audace Entertainment as an opportunity for creators just like me to create authentic and diverse content mainly focused on Black and Muslim stories. And today we are talking about yet another series that stars a woman and a non white person, which I really love. So, like women of color and non binary, all of these different, as long as they're not white, I love it. That to me is like the best kind of story to tell because right now there are so many voices who are not heard. And so I've been on the prowl for these kinds of stories that are authentic, that include women of color, that include anyone who is non-white and non-cisgender, and authentically told stories, not just for the sake of diversity. And I believe so far we've profiled several series that fit the bill. And this week we're talking about another series that streams on Netflix, Never Have I Ever. And I wanted to say that I was very pleasantly surprised. I thought that it was just the most darling show, and the storytelling is so good. It's a comedy, but it's not your traditional sitcom. Last week we talked about a traditional sitcom, and that was iCarly, which also features a Black woman who is pansexual, which I thought was pretty dope. And this series features, I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but it features so many different diverse characters. So let's just jump right in. Never Have I Ever is in its second season. And because I'm so new to the series, I'm only so far into season one. But I do plan to catch up to season two. But I want to just start off by saying that it is wickedly funny. It is just so cute, and it's smart in a funny way. So it's not like your typical haha, let's make jokes. It's very layered, which I totally adore. And that's also a nod to the expert storytelling. So anytime that a series is able to balance those dramatic moments with those comedic moments in a nuanced way, in a way that furthers the story and keeps the audience engrossed in not only the story, the plot, but also the character development, that is top tier storytelling, and Never Have I Ever definitely does that. And our main character is a Hindu girl who lives in Sherman Oaks in Los Angeles. And the series was created by Mindy Kaling, and I hope I'm saying her name right. And I don't know if she's Hindu or not, but I would guess that she definitely has some insight into it because everything in the story that touches on those cultural aspects are so perfect. And that lets me know that Mindy Kaling's influence is very much there, as the creator of the series. And most of the time in Hollywood, someone creates a series and we don't necessarily get to see what their input is. But I have a feeling that it comes across through with the writer's room because it's so authentic. And as somebody who grew up Muslim, I honestly can totally relate to the audience who connects with her as a Hindu because that's something that we very rarely get to see in television series. And so I'm just so in awe of the authenticity of the storytelling and the way that the character is just so effortless, the way that she just weaves through her life, managing her culture and her need to fit in at her school, which is something that I definitely relate to as somebody who grew up quote unquote other. So like I was the only Muslim in my high school, and so it was kind of difficult for me to navigate social settings. But to see this character navigate without any hesitation, and not once denying her culture, not really being afraid of who she is, but just letting her identity stand on its own, that to me was so good. Like, I really respect that. And I want to say that the actors are really great at what they do. Devi, the main character, she just is so honest. She's very vulnerable, but she's also a badass, which is a very delicate balance to maintain when you're acting, when you're performing. This layered character is just so great. So she's not two-dimensional. She's very much a rich character. And so we not only get to love her, but we also are like, you know what, girl, that was kind of so there's like the layers of this character comes through so very well, and I want to give credit to the actress. Her name is Maitreyi, and I hope I said that right. But she's not the only one. So there are several other characters. Fabiola is one who stood out, and she's very much shy when I first meet her. Yes, Ricky, welcome to the broadcast. Yes, the characters really get you hooked in, which to me is a very good sign of a great writer's room, because they recognize the importance of developing your character more so than plot, because plot can only take you but so far. And the way that Never Have I Ever weaves plot and character development, it's so seamless. You don't even notice, but you're taking on this journey with Devi, and like she's very interesting. She's pretty funny. And you know, the story starts off with her experiencing something pretty traumatic to the point where she's in a wheelchair, but that doesn't last too long, because of course there are matters of the heart involved. She has a crush on a guy. and the cute thing is that her crush on the jock in the story was the catalyst for her breaking out of her grief. She was in a wheelchair after the death of her father. And that kind of sends me to some of the story elements. So one of the cool things I love about the show is the way that they incorporate the father. Even though he passed away, he's still very much present in her life, which is so true to real life, you know, especially when you're a daughter and you adore your dad. And Devi definitely adores her father. And even though he passes away, he's still very much present in the home. And not just for Devi, for her mother as well. And the backstory is that Devi's dad and mom immigrated to Los Angeles. So, you know, Devi, she was born and raised here in LA. And so there's that balance between her Indian culture and her Los Angeles culture. And then you get to see the way that they as a family develop that balance as well, not just for Devi, but also for the parents. And then you also get to see her mom's coming to terms with the grief of the loss of her husband as well. So like across the board, the character development is so great, because not only are these characters very relatable, because you know they're a husband and wife and they're trying to make the best life for their daughter on the one hand, and then the daughter, she is just a teenager trying to make the best of her life in LA while managing, you know, her identity and her relationships with her friends, and of course her first crush. But the cool thing is that it's very relevant to like present times, even though I do get like these 80s vibes, because it's very reminiscent of 1980s coming of age comedies, which I think is pretty cool, because a lot of the audience my age can definitely relate to that. And then the music that they use, like whomever the music supervisor is for this show is just so talented, because the music is perfect. It evokes the right amount of emotion for each scene, but it also evokes the right amount of nostalgia for the audience, because I get the feeling that this show is not just written for the the audience that's Davy's age, but it's also written for the parents as well, which I guess I'm in that demographic because I totally related to several of the different emotional arcs that the mom went through, but I also related to several of the emotional arcs that Davy went through because, like, who doesn't remember high school and how tough it is? And that, I think, is what makes this show so relatable. And that takes a lot of talent. So, just speaking from the perspective of a creative, this is definitely a show you want to watch to take notes off of. I mean, I'm just like laying it all out there. It's just so expertly done. But also, as somebody who loves stories, I just totally got engrossed in it. And it's a 30-minute episode series, but you don't even notice the time. Like, I got through maybe 3 or 4 episodes and I didn't even realize how long it took. And I'm definitely excited for the next episode. And so that is a credit to the storytelling as well. But let me jump back into my notes because there are several things that I definitely wanted to talk about. And one of those is how rich the nuances are in the storytelling. So for those writers' rooms where they definitely want to make sure that they're inclusive and have story elements that, are a nod to diversity, these elements are not telegraphed. They're definitely layered in the writing and in the performances by the actors. So you're not sitting there thinking, oh yeah, they did that just to make sure that they include that particular group. You're totally engrossed in the story, which I think is a credit to the writers. So it's rich with these cultural layers, and they come through as a part of the story without any effort and not just for added diversity. And it truly does drive the story. So, like, for example, there's one episode where the mom thinks that she has to sell the moped that was her husband's. And of course, Davy flips out because it was her dad's. And it's, of course, as a girl who's still grieving the loss of her father, she doesn't want to get rid of something that was very dear to him. And then there is one moment where the mom notices this red string hanging off of the handlebar of the moped, and it takes her back to a moment where her husband helps her get through a really tough emotional moment, and he says to her, "Don't worry, I took it to the temple and it's blessed," which is it's so beautiful to see that moment because that's an element of their culture that's so important, and it's very important to this character. Obviously, we saw that in a previous scene in the pilot episode when Davy's economics book almost falls to the ground, and the mom says, "No, don't let it fall to the ground because I had it blessed at the temple and I don't have time to go back to the temple." And she talks about going through the valley and traffic. And as a person who lives in LA, that joke has so many layers. So not only is it a testament to that culture that's so important to Davy and Davy's mom, but it also shows this emotional connection between the mom and the dad, even though her father's passed away. And it also shows you what life is like for them as these immigrant parents from India living in Los Angeles, having to navigate not only their culture, but also LA culture. So I think that that's like one moment that is a true testament to how talented these writers are at weaving authenticity into the story. And I would venture to ask how many of the writers are actually Hindu, how many of them or have Indian family members, that they definitely have experiences that they can draw from. And that to me is just so great because if you're watching this show, you're not lost because you don't know much about the culture. You're drawn in because you can relate to those emotional moments, whether they're your culture or not. And I think that's really beautiful. Another thing about Never Have I Ever that I truly love is the comedic timing. So there are some funny moments and funny setups, especially at high school. Come on now. You got to laugh to keep from crying. When you're talking about fitting in a high school and dealing with a bully, there are some scenes where I'm like, yeah, that could have been a tough emotional moment, but the way that Davy handled it was pretty funny. So I think that their comedic timing is just so spot on, and it's not rushed. So it's like I said earlier, they tend to balance these dramatic moments with these comedic moments so expertly that that to me is top tier storytelling. So, and then getting back to those characters, the authenticity of each character is so great because yes, we have the typical dramatic student. There's one of her friends is a drama student and she's just over the top with everything, but she's also Asian, so you get to see not only that interspersed cultural aspect of being who she is, but also you get to see how she uses her drama to communicate with her friends. Like one scene, she Davy was really upset at her for keeping a secret, and so she decided to create this dramatic reading of a poem over music and just share it with her as a way to try to make it up to her. And Davy's like, never mind, we're good. But of course, this dramatic character was like, no, let me express how much I feel and how much I just want you to know how I care for you. And I thought that was just so cute. So like these characters are very layered, they're compelling, they're funny, and they're very real. So I think you will definitely enjoy Never Have I Ever. It's vulnerable, it's honest, it's authentic, and the storytelling is so rich and layered. You got your jocks, you got your drama queens, you've got your nerds, and you've got Devi. She's pretty badass, and I think you'll like it. So that's my take on Never Have I Ever. I really enjoyed watching it. I think you will too. And I think one of my most favorite things about the series is how badass Devi is. She definitely just charges through her life, like headstrong, like a bull in a china shop. Like she doesn't really care. And that's one thing that I haven't seen for young women characters in a long time. And I think I like her a lot. So if you have any comments about Never Have I Ever and you enjoyed it as much as I did, please do DM me and let me know. Put like as much as you want in the DM, and I will definitely share that. And one of the things that I do want to say is that whenever I talk about these series, I'm talking about them not just from a perspective of somebody who's a creator, but also as somebody who loves storytelling. And so anytime that I give you my feedback, first it's coming from the heart of a story lover, then it's coming from the heart of a story creator. And I definitely appreciate the feedback from story lovers as well as story creators. So please do share. All right, that's it for this week. Never Have I Ever is so great. I love it. It's on Netflix. We're in season 2, so definitely get caught up and tell me what you think. All right, I'm going to see you guys next week. And I definitely can't wait to talk about the next series, which is on HBO Max. And it's pretty controversial, and that's all I'm going to say. Right now in the middle of catching up, and it was just renewed for season 2, so I'm super excited, and I can't wait to talk about it next week. All right, I'll see you guys next time. And yeah, thank you for joining me. Thanks, Ricky. And I'll catch you on the next broadcast. Have a blessed week. Bye.